For 3 years, Eliza Moreno had pushed a mop through Fairchild Air Force Base's classified corridors, invisible to the soldiers who called her Ghost Mop. When the NATO delegation arrived with Colonel Rostov among them, her carefully constructed anonymity shattered. Some secrets are too dangerous to stay buried forever. Fairchild Air Force Base hummed with the constant activity of one of America's most strategically important installations, where classified operations and sensitive intelligence flowed through corridors that few civilians ever saw. Among the thousands of personnel who kept the base functioning, Eliza Moreno was perhaps the most invisible, a slight woman in gray coveralls, who arrived before dawn and left after sunset, her presence marked only by the spotless floors she left behind. At 42, she moved through the base with the quiet efficiency of someone who had learned to be unremarkable, unnoticed, and utterly forgettable. Eliza's workday began at 400 hours when the base was still wrapped in pre-dawn darkness and most personnel were either asleep or just beginning their morning routines. She moved through the classified sections with security clearance that allowed her access to areas where even some officers couldn't go or mop and cleaning cart, serving as perfect camouflage for someone who needed to be everywhere while being seen by no one. Morning Ghost Mop, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez would say when he encountered her in the intelligence wing, using the nickname that had stuck after months of her silent, efficient work. "Keeping our secrets clean." Eliza would nod and smile, her response always limited to broken English that reinforced the soldiers' assumptions about her background and capabilities. "See clean good," she would reply, her accent thick and her grammar deliberately imperfect. What Rodriguez and the others didn't know was that Eliza understood every word of their conversations, not just in English, but in the Arabic, Russian, Mandarin, and 6 other languages that she heard during her daily rounds through the base's most sensitive areas. Her linguistic abilities, honed through years of covert operations, remained hidden beneath the persona of a simple cleaning woman who minded her own business. The official record showed Eliza Moreno as a civilian contractor hired through a standard background check that revealed nothing more interesting than a clean criminal record and reliable work history. But those records were carefully constructed lies that concealed a military career that had taken her to the world's most dangerous places as a linguistics operative. Commander Eliza Santos, her real name and rank, had once worn the uniform of the Linguistic Intelligence Corps, translating intercepted communications and conducting interrogations in languages that most Americans had never heard of. Her disappearance from official records 3 years earlier had been voluntary, the result of a classified incident that had made her too valuable and too dangerous to exist in the open. The arrival of the NATO delegation at Fairchild Air Force Base brought with it the kind of heightened security and diplomatic protocol that marked truly important international meetings. Representatives from 12 allied nations had gathered to discuss intelligence sharing and joint operations, their presence requiring the base's most secure conference facilities and its most trusted personnel. Eliza was cleaning the main conference room when the delegates began arriving, her presence so routine that the security officers barely acknowledged her as she worked around the edges of their preparations. She had learned to time her work perfectly, appearing to focus entirely on her cleaning duties, while actually observing and listening to conversations that revealed far more than their speakers intended. "The Russian delegation is running late," reported Colonel Martinez to General Halbrook as they reviewed the day's schedule. Their flight from Moscow was delayed, but they should be here within the hour. Eliza's hands never paused in their work, but her mind immediately shifted into the analytical mode that had once made her invaluable to military intelligence. Russian delegates at a NATO meeting were always worth watching, and her linguistic abilities would allow her to understand conversations that others might miss. Colonel Viktor Rostov entered the conference room with the bearing of a man accustomed to command and the watchful eyes of someone who had spent decades in intelligence work. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere in the room as American officers adjusted their posture and conversation in response to the arrival of their Russian counterpart. Eliza continued her cleaning, moving slowly around the perimeter of the room while Rostov took his seat and began reviewing briefing materials. She had positioned herself to remain in his peripheral vision without drawing direct attention, a technique that had served her well during years of covert operations. But Rostov's training was too extensive to miss the subtle signs that marked Eliza as something more than she appeared. Her movements were too controlled, her positioning too strategic, and her attention too focused for someone whose only concern should have been cleaning floors. "Excuse me," Rostov said in accented English, his voice cutting through the pre-meeting conversations. "The cleaning woman. I believe we have met before." The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward Eliza, who had frozen in place with her mop still in hand, her carefully maintained cover suddenly under direct assault. Rostov's challenge hung in the air like a live grenade, threatening to destroy 3 years of carefully constructed anonymity with a single observation. Eliza could feel the weight of every gaze in the room as American officers tried to understand why a Russian intelligence colonel was interested in their cleaning staff. "I think you mistake me for someone else, senor," Eliza replied in her practiced broken English, her accent thick and her posture submissive. "I just clean floors." But Rostov's smile was cold and knowing, the expression of a predator who had recognized worthy prey. "Perhaps, but your face is familiar. Istanbul 2018, the Bosphorus Hotel incident. You were there, but not as a cleaner." The mention of Istanbul sent a chill through Eliza's carefully controlled composure. The Bosphorus Hotel operation had been one of her most sensitive assignments, a deep cover mission that had required her to infiltrate a Russian intelligence network while posing as a Turkish translator. "I have never been to Istanbul," Eliza said, but her voice carried less conviction than before. Rostov's knowledge of her past operations meant that her cover was not just compromised, it was completely blown. General Halbrook stepped forward, his expression mixing confusion with growing concern about the implications of this unexpected confrontation. Rostov's next move was calculated to force Eliza into revealing capabilities that would confirm his suspicions about her true identity. He began speaking in rapid Russian, his words designed to test whether the woman with the mop could understand a language that few Americans had mastered. "Your accent when you speak English is interesting," Rostov said in Russian, his tone conversational, but his eyes never leaving Eliza's face. "It suggests someone who learned the language as an adult after mastering several others. That kind of linguistic sophistication is rare among cleaning staff." Eliza's response was immediate and devastating to her cover. Without thinking, she replied in perfect Russian, her accent flawless and her grammar sophisticated. Colonel Rostov, your memory is better than I had hoped, but not as good as you think. Istanbul was a long time ago. The silence that followed was deafening. Every officer in the room understood that they had just witnessed something extraordinary. Their cleaning woman had not only understood fluent Russian, but had responded with the linguistic precision of a native speaker. General Holbrook's voice was tight with controlled tension when he spoke. "Ms. Moreno, I think we need to have a private conversation." As the conference room emptied of all personnel except Eliza, General Holbrook, and Colonel Rostov, the carefully constructed fiction of Eliza's identity began to collapse completely. Her posture straightened, her demeanor shifted from submissive to alert, and her eyes carried the watchful intelligence of someone trained for situations far more dangerous than cleaning floors. "Colonel Rostov is correct about Istanbul," Eliza said, her English now carrying no trace of accent or grammatical error. "But he's wrong about the details. I wasn't there as a translator. I was there as the operation commander." Holbrook's expression shifted from confusion to amazement as he began to understand the implications of what he was hearing. "Commander, you're military." Eliza's response revealed the depth of deception that had allowed her to hide in plain sight for 3 years. "Former Commander Eliza Santos Linguistic Intelligence Corps, officially deceased as of 3 years ago, currently operating under deep cover as part of a classified monitoring operation." The revelation that his base's cleaning woman was actually a high-ranking intelligence officer conducting covert operations sent shockwaves through Holbrook's understanding of his own facility's security. Eliza's explanation of her true mission at Fairchild Air Force Base revealed a level of operational sophistication that impressed even Rostov, despite his adversarial relationship with American intelligence. Her cover as a cleaning woman had provided her with access to conversations and information that would have been impossible to obtain through conventional intelligence gathering. For 3 years, I have been monitoring communications and activities that suggest foreign intelligence penetration of this facility. Eliza explained her briefing delivered with the professional competence of someone accustomed to high-level intelligence work. "My linguistic abilities allow me to understand conversations in 9 languages, including several that most American personnel don't recognize. This has enabled me to identify patterns of communication and behavior that indicate ongoing espionage activities." Holbrook's question was immediate and urgent. "What kind of espionage activities?" Eliza's response revealed the scope of the threat she had been tracking. "Russian drone technology has been infiltrating American airspace using frequencies and protocols that suggest inside knowledge of our defensive systems. The penetration is being coordinated from within this base by someone with access to classified flight operations." Eliza's revelation about Russian drone infiltration was not just historical intelligence, it was an immediate threat that required urgent action. Her monitoring had detected increased activity that suggested a major operation was imminent, possibly timed to coincide with the NATO delegation's presence at the base. "The drone network is preparing for activation," Eliza reported, her voice carrying the urgency of someone who understood the tactical implications. "Based on the communication patterns I've intercepted, they plan to conduct surveillance of the NATO meeting while testing our defensive responses." Rostov's reaction was carefully neutral. But his presence during this revelation created obvious complications for any American response to the threat. His knowledge of the operation could be coincidental, or it could indicate his direct involvement in the intelligence gathering. General, Eliza continued, I recommend immediate activation of countermeasures and deployment of defensive systems. We have approximately 30 minutes before the drone network becomes operational. Halbrook faced a decision that would test his judgment and his trust in an intelligence officer whose very existence had been hidden from him until minutes earlier. The woman he had known as a cleaning lady was now asking him to authorize military action based on intelligence that she had gathered while mopping his floors. Eliza's warning proved accurate when Fairchild's air defense systems detected multiple unidentified aircraft approaching the base from 3 different directions. The drones were small, fast, and using flight patterns that suggested sophisticated programming designed to evade conventional defensive measures. We have 12 bogies inbound, reported the air defense controller, his voice tight with the stress of facing an unprecedented threat. They're flying below radar coverage and using electronic countermeasures that are jamming our tracking systems. General Halbrook's decision to trust Eliza's intelligence was vindicated, but the immediate threat required more than just early warning. It demanded active countermeasures that could neutralize the drones before they could complete their surveillance mission. The drones are equipped with advanced recording equipment, Eliza explained as she monitored the incoming threat. If they succeed in documenting the NATO meeting and our defensive capabilities, the intelligence value to hostile nations would be enormous. Rostov's presence during the crisis created additional complications as his knowledge of Russian drone technology could be either helpful or dangerous, depending on his actual role in the operation. Colonel Rostov, Halbrook said carefully, I need to know whether you have any information about these drones that could help us defend against them. Rostov's response was diplomatically neutral, but practically useless. General, I am here as an observer, not as a participant in any military action. Eliza's response to the drone threat revealed capabilities that went far beyond linguistic intelligence, demonstrating technical expertise that suggested training in multiple aspects of covert operations. Her knowledge of drone technology and defensive systems was as sophisticated as her language skills. I can neutralize the drone network, Eliza announced her confidence, surprising everyone in the command center. But I'll need access to the base's experimental defense systems and authorization to activate countermeasures that are still in testing phases. Halbrook's authorization came without hesitation, his trust in Eliza's expertise now complete, despite the unconventional circumstances. Do whatever you need to do. You have full authority. Eliza's approach to countering the drone attack involved using the base's own experimental unmanned systems aircraft that she had helped design during her previous assignment, but that were not yet officially operational. Her technical knowledge allowed her to activate and control systems that few people on the base even knew existed. Launching defensive drones, Eliza reported as she worked at a control station with the expertise of someone who had designed the system she was operating. Intercept in 3 minutes. The aerial battle that followed was conducted entirely by unmanned systems, with Eliza's defensive drones engaging the hostile aircraft in a high-tech confrontation that demonstrated the future of aerial warfare. Eliza's Successful neutralization of the drone threat was accomplished with a precision that impressed even the base's most experienced pilots. Her defensive systems not only destroyed the hostile drones, but captured several intact for intelligence analysis, providing valuable information about foreign technological capabilities. All hostile drones neutralized, Eliza reported, as the last enemy aircraft was brought down by her countermeasures. No damage to base facilities, and we have recovered significant intelligence materials from the captured systems. The success of her operation validated not only her intelligence gathering, but also her technical expertise and operational capabilities. The woman who had been invisible for 3 years had proven herself to be one of the base's most valuable assets. "Outstanding work, Commander Santos," Holbrook said, using her real name and rank for the first time. "Your operation has not only protected this base, but provided us with intelligence that will enhance our defensive capabilities for years to come." Rostov's reaction to Eliza's success was carefully controlled, but his respect for her capabilities was evident. "Commander, your reputation in Istanbul was well-deserved. It appears that your skills have only improved during your time in retirement." Eliza's response was professional, but carried a hint of satisfaction at having outmaneuvered an old adversary. "Colonel, some of us never really retire. We just change uniforms." With the immediate threat neutralized and her cover permanently blown, Eliza faced the transition from covert operative back to official military status. The process required careful coordination with multiple intelligence agencies and the creation of new operational protocols that would allow her to continue her work without the anonymity that had protected her for 3 years. "Commander Santos," General Holbrook said during their private debriefing, "I need to understand the full scope of your mission here and what your official status will be going forward." Eliza's explanation revealed the complexity of deep cover operations and the challenges faced by intelligence officers who operated outside normal military structures. "My assignment here was part of a long-term counterintelligence operation designed to identify and neutralize foreign intelligence penetration of critical military facilities." The success of her mission had implications that extended far beyond Fairchild Air Force Base, as her methods and discoveries would influence counterintelligence operations at military installations worldwide. "The drone network we neutralized today was just one component of a larger intelligence operation," Eliza continued. "My 3 years of monitoring have identified similar threats at multiple facilities, and the intelligence we've gathered will be crucial for protecting our national security." Eliza's demonstration of technical capabilities during the drone crisis revealed training and expertise that went far beyond traditional linguistic intelligence work. Her ability to design, modify, and operate advanced unmanned systems suggested involvement in highly classified development programs. "The defensive systems I use today were prototypes that I helped develop during my previous assignment," Eliza explained to the assembled technical staff. "My background includes not just linguistics, but also systems engineering and drone technology development." Her multidisciplinary expertise made her uniquely valuable for operations that required both intelligence gathering and technical implementation. The combination of linguistic abilities, engineering knowledge, and operational experience was rare even within the intelligence community. "Commander Santos represents the future of military intelligence, observed Colonel Martinez, who had worked with intelligence officers for over 20 years. The integration of multiple skill sets in a single operative provides capabilities that traditional specialists cannot match. Rostov's presence during Eliza's revelation created diplomatic complications that required careful management to avoid escalating tensions between the United States and Russia. His knowledge of her identity and capabilities could be used for intelligence purposes, but it also provided opportunities for diplomatic engagement. Colonel Rostov, Halbrook said carefully, "Your recognition of Commander Santos suggests that Russian intelligence has been tracking American operatives for some time." Rostov's response was diplomatically correct, but revealed the depth of intelligence competition between the two nations. General professional recognition between intelligence officers is not uncommon. Commander Santos's reputation is well known among those who work in our field. The exchange highlighted the complex relationships that existed between adversarial intelligence services where professional respect could coexist with national competition. Eliza's successful operation had demonstrated American capabilities while also revealing the sophistication of foreign intelligence efforts. Eliza's transition from covert operative to official intelligence officer came with assignment to a new position that would allow her to use her unique combination of skills on a broader scale. Her experience at Fairchild had proven the value of long-term embedded operations, and her methods would be applied to other critical facilities. Commander Santos said Admiral Patricia Hayes, Director of Naval Intelligence, who had flown to Fairchild specifically to meet with Eliza, "Your operation here has been so successful that we want to expand it to other installations." The new assignment would involve training other operatives in Eliza's methods while also developing new technologies and protocols for counterintelligence operations. Her linguistic abilities would be combined with technical expertise to create a new generation of intelligence capabilities. The integration of human intelligence with technical systems that you've demonstrated represents a significant advancement in our operational capabilities, Admiral Hayes continued. "We want you to lead the development of similar programs at other facilities." Eliza's acceptance of the assignment marked the beginning of a new phase in her career, where her innovations would influence intelligence operations throughout the military. Eliza's development of training programs for other intelligence operatives required her to codify methods and techniques that she had developed through years of practical experience. Her approach to linguistic intelligence technical operations and covert surveillance would become standard curriculum for advanced intelligence training. The key to successful long-term cover operations, Eliza explained to her first class of trainees, is complete integration into the environment you're monitoring. You must become genuinely invisible, not just physically, but psychologically. Her teaching methods emphasize the importance of patience observation and the ability to maintain cover even under direct challenge. The techniques that had allowed her to remain undetected for 3 years would be passed on to a new generation of intelligence officers. Remember, Eliza told her students, the most powerful weapon in intelligence work is not technology or training. It's the ability to be underestimated by your adversaries. Eliza's story became a case study in intelligence schools and military academies, demonstrating how unconventional approaches could achieve results that traditional methods could not. Her success proved that the most effective intelligence officers were often those who could disappear completely into their assigned roles. Commander Santos redefined what we thought was possible in counterintelligence operations, explained General Halbrook during a classified briefing to senior military leaders. Her methods have applications that extend far beyond the specific threats she was assigned to monitor. The techniques and technologies that Eliza had developed during her time as a cleaning woman would influence intelligence operations for decades to come, proving that innovation often emerged from the most unexpected circumstances. Her legacy was not just in the threats she had neutralized, but in the new understanding of how intelligence work could be conducted by operatives who were willing to sacrifice recognition for effectiveness. Eliza's official return to military status came with promotion to lieutenant colonel and assignment to the Pentagon's most classified intelligence programs. Her unique combination of linguistic abilities, technical expertise, and operational experience made her invaluable for developing new approaches to counterintelligence and covert operations. Lieutenant Colonel Santos has demonstrated capabilities that we didn't know existed within our intelligence community, said Secretary of Defense Patricia Hayes during Eliza's promotion ceremony. Her work has not only protected critical military installations, but has revolutionized how we approach long-term intelligence operations. The ceremony was attended by intelligence officers from multiple agencies who had studied Eliza's methods and wanted to learn from her experience. Her techniques were being implemented at military facilities worldwide, with her approach to embedded intelligence gathering becoming standard protocol for high-security installations. Her 3 years as a cleaning woman taught us more about effective intelligence work than decades of traditional operations, observed CIA Director Robert Martinez. For Eliza, the most meaningful recognition came not from official commendations, but from the knowledge that her work had protected American military personnel and national security interests. Her willingness to sacrifice recognition and live in anonymity had proven that the most effective service often went unnoticed and unacknowledged. I spent 3 years being invisible, Eliza reflected during an interview with Military Intelligence magazine, but that invisibility allowed me to see threats that would have been hidden from more obvious intelligence operations. Her experience had reinforced her belief that the most important intelligence work was often the most thankless, requiring operatives who were willing to disappear completely into their assigned roles. The soldiers who had called her Ghost Mop had been more accurate than they knew she had indeed been a ghost, but one who protected rather than haunted. Eliza Santos became a legend within the intelligence community, her story inspiring a new generation of operatives who understood that the most effective intelligence work often required complete anonymity and the willingness to be underestimated by both allies and adversaries. Her methods continued to protect military installations years after her cover was blown, proving that her contribution to national security extended far beyond her individual operations. The woman who had mopped floors while speaking 9 languages had shown that true strength often came disguised as weakness, and that the most powerful weapons in intelligence work were patience, observation, and the ability to remain invisible until the moment came to act.